You were talking to this gentleman earlier, and he said that you had two evidences for God. One was that, the universe itself is, an expression of some kind of design and order.
Right.
And as a result, because of that, there has to be some kind of creator or some kind of designer. To me, this doesn't make sense in the sense of, sure, you gave, like, the example of the Golden Gate Bridge. It doesn't just appear out of nowhere or out of chance. Someone must have designed it. Sure, but, the Christian worldview, presents a very specific view of God, right? So I feel, as an agnostic, I sort of struggle with this notion of, the kind of God that is created and that's presented in the Bible, as opposed to sort of reality as I'm experiencing it now. So for me, can you try to sort of bridge that divide? Because, the way I feel the sun hitting my skin right now, it doesn't really give me any notion of the kind of God that's presented in the Bible.
All right. Why do I believe that God exists? Not because I can prove God. I cannot prove God. But in my observation of life, order and design 100 times out of 100 has a designer behind it. I don't care if it's a camera. I don't care if it's an automobile. I don't care if it's Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. I don't care if it's the works of U2. I don't care if it's your pants, my pants. Every time you're confronted by order and design, if you push it back, you come to a designer. Therefore, when I insist that the camera has a manufacturer behind it, I've got to ask myself, is it more reasonable? Not can I prove. Is it more reasonable? Is it more plausible for me to believe that behind this eye is a cosmic accident? Or is it more reasonable to believe behind this eye there's an intelligent designer? Sir, based on my observation of life, 100 times out of 100, order and design point me to an intelligent mind. That is why, sir, I will conclude that behind this eye, there is an intelligent mind. All right? But, sir, call me a fool if I believe that order and design demand an intelligent mind, but I will stick with it. Because in every experience of life that I have, every observation, order and design points me to an intelligent mind. Second point, you said, I'm agnostic. Yes, sir, I understand you're agnostic. But that's a practical impossibility. Why? Because every day, sir, you make ethical decisions. You cannot scientifically prove right and wrong, justice and injustice. Every day you choose whether you have worth or no worth. You can't scientifically prove that a person is worthwhile or worthless. That's a value judgment that kicks you right back into whether God exists or not and has created us for innate value or not. Every day you have to consider what happens after death, because there are a lot of people dying around us. So, like it or not, sir, you can say you're agnostic, but you can't live it out.
When I say I'm agnostic, I mean a very specific thing. I mean that, I've experienced a lot of religions. I've lived in a lot of places. And I think that I cannot make, I believe that I exist. And this belief is not it's not a result of some kind of intellectual deliberation. I just know that I exist, right? And I think that the religious experiences that have been presented, mainly with Christianity, different sects of Christianity and Eastern thoughts like Buddhism and Taoism and Hinduism, they're thoughts, they're words written on a paper, and to me, I want an experience, just as I believe that I'm standing here. I didn't try to come to some clever, rational, or experimental experiment to kind of discern whether I'm alive or not alive. I just know that I'm alive, and in the same way, I would like, a lot of people walk around claiming to know the content to the mystery of the universe. You will say, well, the content to the mystery of the universe is, the Judeo-Christian God Yahweh, and etc. And to me, that may make sense. I've read the Bible, and it makes sense, but it doesn't resonate with me on a sort of spiritual, on a heart level. I don't feel it to be true. I walk around still perplexed by reality.
Okay, and I at times, like you, am perplexed with reality as well. I don't have it all nailed down. That is not the position of a follower of Christ. We don't have it all nailed down. There's a boatload of mystery, of unanswered questions. But sir, like it or not, you have decided whether I am a piece of dirt or whether I'm a valuable human being. Like it or not, sir, you have decided whether to treat me with respect or disrespect. And like it or not, sir, if you get really sick, you're not going to say, I just believe that I'm alive. No, you're going to say, something, I am alive and my body is dying right now. That is why I'm going to go to the most talented doctor I can to try and get my body up and running again.
But sir, with all due respect, there's a difference between, so if I'm sick and let's say I have the flu and I go to the doctor, I do that as a matter of practicality. I don't believe, for instance, that just because the doctor can treat me, that every single theory he says about, chemistry, or the theory that he has. No, the point that I'm trying to make is that, sure, I live my life out with certain convictions, but I'm not truly convinced in a metaphysical sense that they're 100% true. I walk around with certain, ideas and thoughts about other people, but I don't know 100% sure. And you seem to me to be saying that 100% that there is some kind of entity that rules the world. Now, when I say I'm agnostic, I say that I'm agnostic in that sense. I don't know, how do you know that the kind of, you've yet to tell me why you believe you believe in the Christian God.
All right, you want us to go into that question now? I thought we were having a fantastic conveation on this issue of agnosticism.
This is the general sort of flavor of my question. It's precisely why should anybody believe in the kind of Christian God? Because I see myself as a kind of someone who's looking through. I experiment with a lot of religions, and I'm just seeking to choose what's the truth.
All right. The bottom line is the reason you should believe in the Christian worldview is because of the credibility, trustworthiness, not of Christianity, but of Jesus Christ. That's the bottom line. What's the evidence that Jesus is credible and trustworthy? It is historical in nature. The historical record of how Jesus taught, what he taught, as written in the Sermon on the Mount. Secondly, the historical evidence of the way he lived his life, the way he treated people. Thirdly, the historical evidence of the way he died, loving and forgiving his enemies. And fourthly, the historical evidence of the way he rose from the dead 3 days after he died. That historical evidence points to Jesus Christ being reliable, trustworthy, credible. That is why Jesus should be considered.
But sir, I will insist, because as an agnostic, I'll even say as an agnostic, Jesus Christ as a character is an inspiration to me. You said lifestyle, his teachings, etc. But Buddha, for instance, Siddhartha Gautama, I can't really say it right. Sakyamuni is supposed to be the Buddha. Also, I admire his lifestyle. I admire his teachings. I admire the way he died. So that's not necessarily something unique to Jesus Christ and Christianity, because other religions offer pretty good role models and incredible moral geniuses, such as the Buddha himself. So it still is not a distinction. It still is not another sort of added question to me is, like I told you, I believe that I'm standing here not out of a sort of, again, intellectual deliberation. I just know that it's a kind of knowing that's on a gut level. And so, similarly, how can one come to know the truth to the mystery of the universe in that sense, on a gut level, as opposed to, well, I read it in a book, I was told,
Sir, I think you've got to be very careful. You have respect for Siddhartha Gautama Buddha because he wrote some teachings and a history of his life has been recorded. That's why both you and I respect Buddha. We don't respect Buddha just because we have a gut feeling. We respect Buddha because we have read his teachings, we have read his lifestyle, the way he turned his back on materialism and lived the life of an ascetic, and that's why I respect him. I respect Buddha because he struggled through the question of suffering. He didn't just go out and live as materialistic and cushy a life as he could. He really agonized and struggled through the problem of suffering. That is why I respect him. I don't respect Buddha because I have a feeling called Buddha in my gut. For all I know, that is indigestion over my breakfast. Instead, I respect Buddha very highly because of his struggle with the problem of suffering. And I think that if any human being struggles through the problem of suffering, they're going to get my respect. But Buddha never talked about God once. Secondly, his answer to the problem of suffering, to detach, to cut off your desires, is contradicted by Christ, who said, you better not detach and you better not cut off your desires. Instead, you better learn to love and to get involved in suffering people's lives to bring about healing. And secondly, you better learn to distinguish between good desires and evil desires. You better not just cut off all your desires. And you better allow your desires to make this messed up world more like heaven will be, to motivate you to go to med school, to stand against injustice, to serve the needy, to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to visit those sick and in prison. You better do that. Otherwise, you are detaching, you're cutting off all your desires, and you're living a highly irresponsible life. So there's a contradiction between them.
No, but actually, I mean, didn't the Buddha also teach the middle way and talk also about, compassion is sort of the heart sutra of Buddhism? It seems to me that, you have to go out on a limb and, care for others, and self-transcendence is not about the self, it's actually transcending the self. And so, again, to me, it seems like there's no difference between the two. And again, I only brought this up as an example. I meant there are a lot of religions out there in the world, and it seems to me that you haven't offered a crucial crucial factor why anybody should sort of accept Christianity over any
You bet. Bottom line reason why you should accept Jesus Christ and not Siddhartha Gautama Buddha is because the grave of Buddha is full, the grave of Jesus Christ is empty. It is Christ's historical resurrection that sets him apart from every single religious teacher as being unique, different, and trustworthy in a way that none of the options are.
So, even if one were to accept that, for me there's still another divide, which is why I keep on bringing that gut feeling. It's more of, I've read the Bible, I have gone to a lot of, I grew up Catholic, I understand Christian doctrine and Christian theology, but that still does not give me that extra extra knowing, because to me it's not a matter, I don't want to believe in God, I want to know that God exists. And it seems to me that you stand here, and I'm a senior, and I've seen you come here for several years, and you're very confident in your presentation. You seem to believe, not just believe, but to know that God exists. And when I say that I'm agnostic, I mean that I really don't know. And it seems like, and you haven't really told us any special thing, any special reason why we should believe. You've said things like, well, Jesus Christ, and unlike all the other teachings or teachers of the world, is resurrected. But so what? I mean, to me, this doesn't give me any, I always come down to this sort of simple example that I know that I'm alive, not because I think about it, I just know it. It's sort of a direct knowing. And how can one directly know the truth of the sort of the state of affairs?
Sir, I do not 100% know that Jesus Christ is the truth. I do not 100% know that God exists.
Okay.
All right? I can't prove that God exists. I can't prove that Jesus Christ is the truth. But the overwhelming evidence points in that direction. Now, if you don't believe me, then please do what I've been trying to get you to do, which is, what's the option that is supported by more evidence, be it gut evidence, be it intellectual evidence, be it experiential evidence, be it emotional evidence? I really don't care what the evidence is, but please tell me, what is the overwhelming experience that shows you that Jesus Christ is not reliable, some other option is?
But you see, to me, that seems like an odd way to decide the most important question that a human being has to decide, by just what seems more evident, what has more evidence. I don't go around deciding things based on which has more evidence.
Yes, you do.
I mean,
Yes,
for
you do.
for practical reasons, but not for matters of, spirituality. I don't, again, when I come back to things that I know without a doubt, I know that I'm standing right here in front of you. And this is not because of, I've examined several layers of evidences and comparatively reached to a certain reasonable conclusion. It's more that I know without a shadow of doubt that I'm standing right in front of you. I just know
You
that.
cannot prove that.
I can't
You
prove it,
cannot
but I
prove
know
that
it.
I'm not a bad dream you're just having. It is possible.
No, yeah, it is.
All
It
right?
is possible, but I know
But the
that
overwhelming evidence is that I am standing here. That's why you're taking the time to talk to me. You can't prove it, but evidence allows you to know that I am here and that we're having a halfway intelligent discussion.